And welcome to Arm Wrestling Showcase number 47. With me, as always, is my trusty co-host, Josh Edwards from Nowhere to Run Arm Wrestling. How's it going, Josh?
Good, brother. How you guys doing tonight?
Fantastic. And we do have a very special guest with us who is also running our new series, Sontino Says. Today we are graced with Mr. Sontino Bravo's presence to give us a little bit of arm wrestling knowledge. This is Sontino Says number one. How's it going, Santino?
Good. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Like to thank you guys for joining us on this evening for this first episode of Sontino Says. So, in this episode, I would like to go over tournament preparation, things you can do before the tournament, during the tournament, and leading up to tournament, and how to get you better results. So, without further ado, let's get started, shall we?
Yes, let's do this.
Now, one of the most, if not the most important aspect of tournament preparation leading into it is to have a goal, to have a want, some objective that you are looking to do. So depending on the tournament, that can change. So I'll give you an example. There's a tournament this weekend in Santa Clara, the Santa Clara Evo Expo. Now, for me, this tournament, my goal is to work on some techniques I need to try to make some adjustments for that I wasn't able to do at Nationals, but also to understand that this week I have been training Monday through Wednesday. So being a little sore from Nationals, a little fatigued from training, tempers some of my expectations, but I still have a clear goal that I'm working forward to doing. So that's going to change for everyone. So let's say you're a world championship level puller. Competing in a local tournament might not be a big deal for you. It might be not as competitive versus somebody who is looking to climb the ranks, looking to place. They have a lot more that they might want to get out of it. But regardless, there is something everyone can achieve if they set a goal and have it work for them. So, important thing to prepare for a tournament is setting a schedule. So what setting a schedule entails is, when is the tournament you plan on competing in? Is it a few months from now, later in the year, or a few weeks? Sometimes tournaments pop up just out of the blue unannounced, and you got 2 weeks, 3 weeks to prepare for it. So having a good schedule is going to help you keep you on track, keep you on point to achieving that objective. Another thing to take example when you are setting your schedule for your training is, what caliber of tournament is this? Because I can tell you the preparation I do for competing at Worlds is different than competing for, at the California State or competing at some local tournament. Different tournaments, different caliber of pullers require different preparation. Also, a lot of the things I'll say tonight can be applied to super matches or round robins, certain aspects for sure. But take everything I say with a grain of salt and what works for you and what doesn't. So another thing when you're setting your schedule and preparing for this tournament is, one, what is the tournament, the caliber of pullers that are going to be there? What level? Is this a local, state, national, world, international, etc.? What class are you competing in? Are you competing in multiple classes? How many? And do you need to cut weight? So let's say, example, the Vegas tournament that was last month, I believe. I pulled 6 classes, so 155 all the way up into 190s. My preparation for that tournament was a little bit different. When you're pulling that many classes, your goal isn't to win any class. It's really to get some training in, get some ready goes, get some experience, and like, so that is something to take in consideration. Do you plan on pulling multiple classes? Setting a schedule for travel accommodations, very important. For some local events, it's not as much, you know, if it's an hour, 2 hour drives, not that big, but if it's something out of state, if it's something across the country, across the globe, that is something that you're going to have to set a schedule for. You're going to have to figure out how much is it going to cost you? How long is that travel time in and of itself? Are you going to need a ride or carpool with someone? Getting coordinated with a group of guys can cut some costs, but that's something that needs to be scheduled and figured out ahead of time. Your hotel, Airbnb, any accommodation you have there, whether or not you're going to book a room with someone else or on your own, to make sure you get that taken care of ahead of time, so it's not last minute. Because I think that's important. Obviously, the arm wrestling community is very helpful. And if you need a ride somewhere or share a room or something, everyone in the community has always been helpful. But I must say, it's best if you're not that person who is the night of or a day before saying, hey, can I get a ride? Is there anyone with you? Is there any room for you? One, it can throw people off because maybe they might not have that space available, or they could have if they were alerted a month prior or weeks prior. And it can take some people out of their preparation travel. It's like, okay, I want to be helpful, so I want to make sure I get my friend with me, but then I got to change some things, make some phone calls. It just adds a little bit more stress to this already stressful scenario. But having this thing taken a month, as much time ahead of time, one, it'll be cheaper, and it's easier to coordinate and get everyone on the same page.
Yeah, I would I want to add to that. I think that's really important for everyone to think about because there are so many tournaments happening now. Gosh, like every year it just seems like they're more frequent, and plotting all of that out in advance. I think that really helps, like which tournaments you want to hit and stuff.
Mm-hmm. So when you figure out this aspect of, you know, what is your goal for this tournament, the type of competition you're going to be going against, you figure out your travel accommodations, you've got some of the pre-work done, set, then it's time to schedule in your training. Now, everyone has their own training program that they like to do that works for them. And I'm not here to prescribe what people should or shouldn't do, as we all have our different things, but it's important to schedule that in according to how much time you have to prepare. For example, currently, all my training that I'm doing is gearing up for Worlds at the end of the year. Obviously, Worlds for me is start of October, so I have a long time. But being that my goal, week in, week out, month in, month out, tournament to tournament, my objectives are catered towards that end result there. But for some of you who got this tournament next month or something, to set up a time frame of what you want your strength and physical training to be, whether or not you're going to do some more volume, some hypertrophy to grow muscle, whether you're going to do more heavier reps, heavier sets to build some more power. That's something that needs to be scheduled out leading to that tournament, because as we know, sometimes we have a few months before a tournament. Sometimes it's a matter of just a couple of weeks and don't have time to build that strength we want. So something to consider when preparing for a tournament. So once you schedule your training regimen for strength, conditioning, endurance, you're going to want to have a period of rest before a tournament. Now, everyone is different. Everyone recovers at different rates. Some people like to do heavy, intense training a week up to a few days prior. Some like to taper their training. Whatever works for you and your experience, just stick with it. But keep in mind the importance of being well rested, both from a physical standpoint of muscles, tendons, ligaments, but also the neurological drive you have, that central nervous system, getting those hard hits, those powerful movements, take a little bit more time to recover than just strictly muscles. So something to take in consideration when you're preparing for your upcoming tournament. So after, or during, I should say, your physical conditioning, getting ready, getting stronger, is your technical work, your actual arm wrestling at the table here and here. Now, how you prepare this technical aspect, the wrestling of this arm wrestling, is going to be specific to you, the tournament you're going to be pulling in, what you're looking to achieve in this tournament. For example, if you have a specific or a few people that you're looking to match up into a tournament, you may want to cater certain move sets to what they may or may not be doing. Another example could be you feel your hook has not been as efficient or powerful as you'd want in the past. So you might dedicate a lot more technical work into developing that hook, as your goal would be to improve your hook in a ready-go tournament. Other things to consider when working out technical things leading up to a tournament are your straps, how you like to set up in the strap, your setup. So where you're going to place your feet, how and hard are you going to hit? Are you looking to be more defensive? Another thing that does get overlooked a little bit is, will you be using chalk throughout this tournament? I like to bring that up because if you don't practice having your hands chalked or anything, and you go to a tournament and say you're going to top roll, but you've never practiced using chalk in practice before, but it's just for this tournament you thought you'd like to try it. That might throw your technique off, as you will have a little bit firmer grip than you're used to having, and could find yourself in positions you're unfamiliar with. Just something to consider when you're preparing for a tournament, another aspect to that technical preparation. And leading up, to follow back on potential matchups you might want to test yourself out against. So let's say there is that one guy who gets you every tournament, blows by the field, but you think there's something there. You really want to test yourself against them, see how much you climb in rank and skill. So preparation for that could be your own research, doing your own homework, finding out what film you can, their past tournaments, past super matches, even looking down at how they practice, taking in consideration that, incorporating that into developing your own strategy and your technical work can be a huge, huge benefit. Though, depending on the level of your tournament, can be more difficult. So here in our local tournaments, everybody knows each other really. We practice with each other. So usually there aren't too many surprises of what to expect. But let's say you plan on going out of state, pulling against people you've never gripped up against before. Doing a little bit of research, depending on what your goal for that tournament is, can be very helpful. I had a lot of difficulty this past Worlds finding out any film on a lot of my opponents, because a lot of them were in the Asian countries and they aren't as big on social media as we are here in the States. So for me, homework included going back 4 years at some local events they had over there, watching some live streams of channels I could find to see how they practice, what potential techniques they like to incorporate, and who could possibly be in my weight class. So the aspect of breaking down film, like you would do any other sport, can be a huge benefit in preparing for a potential matchup. Another overlooked aspect that, you'd be surprised to hear it, and if you ask yourself this, you'd have to really question, do you know the rules? What are the rules, one, in general of arm wrestling, specifically, what rule set will be used at this tournament, this super match, this round robin, what have you? You would be surprised at the amount of times arm wrestlers are surprised that they get a foul in a certain position, they lose a match in a certain position, not understanding that is how the rule was written. And an example that gets seen a lot is no pin can occur in the neutral zone of the table. Neutral zone being from this corner to here, right here. So if we're arm wrestling and, we're down here in the center of the table, this is no call. But the amount of times arm wrestlers get in this position, they'll either stop, assume they've won because they're on top, or lift their elbow up. They end up getting the foul, and in some cases, a loss. Another thing is the aspect of not pinning on your losing side. This Leonard brings this up a lot, is I have my opponent over here. This is my losing side, but a lot of arm wrestlers assume because they're on top and their arm is on top and they're the opponent's below the pin, that therefore that is a pin for them. Decades prior, that was the rule set, but it changed to now pins can only occur on your winning side. So in this position here, despite me being on top of my opponent, they're below, because I'm below the pin line and it's my losing side, my opponent would get the win. Understanding the rule set can be a huge benefit, especially some tournaments like to allow some small bobbles of the elbow. Many tournaments, especially the higher level you get, no allowance. Nationals, worlds, any daylight is a foul. If you're not familiar with training like that, or partaking in tournaments that call those fouls, you instinctively might elbow hop a little bit just because that is what you're used to, and not being aware you're getting fouls when otherwise you wouldn't be able to. So understanding and knowing the rules, which we all arm wrestle, we should be familiar with them, but understanding from a referee's perspective can be very helpful in a tournament. So that covers briefly some of the things that take into consideration when scheduling certain aspects out to prepare for your upcoming tournament. An important thing, what do you bring to a tournament? Well, you should bring a lot more than you think. And I have a whole list here and I'll get to. But something to consideration is a lot of this is tournament dependent. Some venues will prohibit the bringing in of some food and drink. I ignore this unless I'm specifically asked to throw away whatever or searched and not allowed, in which case, respectfully agree to not bring those in. But we're athletes. This isn't some like sideshow circus thing. Arm wrestling is a legitimate sport. And as an athlete, you know what you need to perform. Hydration, food, snacks, all that things. So I personally don't like it when events are hosted at venues that don't allow an athlete to bring in like a Gatorade or anything. Though I do understand that oftentimes these venues are the ones our promoters. They're cheaper, they're more affordable, they're easier access for a lot of people. So in which case, it's something we all have to deal with. But in general, if you can bring anything in or you can sneak some things in, I encourage you to do so. I'll give you an example. This last Nationals, they asked us not to bring in any food and drink. To which case, obviously, being the rebel I am, kind of ignored that. Mainly because they wanted us to buy the food and beverages they had, a little bit outside, which is fine. But the problem I have with that is, I brought it up at the last show, is I know what I need as an athlete. I don't know what the food is that they're serving, whether or not that's something that's going to fit into my little program. I don't know what the drinks they have there. I don't know how long it will take for me to acquire those things. I don't know how long the line will be to get there, because last Nationals, there was about 400 of us one day. So you can think, well, if everyone's looking to buy food or drink at this one spot, how much time, energy can be taken away from I'm up in maybe 5 minutes and I needed my Gatorade like 20 minutes ago.
Hmm.
Having your own food, drink, beverage, snacks takes all the stress out, leaves you better prepared. And as always, we want to support the venues that host us. We can support the venues otherwise. If it's at a hotel or casino or something, we can partake at the restaurants they have there and such. So always support the venues that host us in which ways you can. I think that's important. So that brings up to what are the things you need? An ample amount of water or ready access to it. As Kane brought up last week, you can easily go through a gallon throughout a tournament. Just you're sweating, your strenuous activity. So having a lot more water than you think, more than just a little bottle, is necessary because you don't want to take any time away from you going up. You need a sip of water, you grab it and go. Not having to look for some water bottle. You don't need to go buy one, etc. It's all there, set up, ready to go. Having something to consider is some type of electrolyte beverage. A Gatorade, a Pedialyte, something that gives you a little bit of the sodium, a little bit of salts, a little bit of the potassium, all those little minerals and things, just to help give you a little bit more energy boost, help a little bit in recovery. Some small digestible or something nutritious. So example, at Nationals the night prior, I bought some little Smuckers Uncrustables, little peanut butter sandwiches. So when I'm feeling a little bit low in energy, just take a little nibble. Okay, I'm good. It's important, as Kane brought up the last time, that you don't want a whole meal. You don't want to be eating so much that it takes your energy to digest it. You're lethargic, you're slow. But to have something available to you like a power bar or something, just to give you a little bit of energy if you need it, depending on how long this tournament is. As a lightweight, I'm usually up first. But if you're heavier and weight, you could be waiting a lot longer to get up and go. So having those things ready throughout the tournament can be a huge, huge benefit. Along with things such as, if you have an energy drink, having that on hand, any other consumables, really, really important.
Absolutely.
So you'll need something to store those things in. So having yourself a small little ice chest or other sort of container to house all these things in makes it a lot easier. So you're not carrying like 12 different grocery bags of little snacks, digging through things. Everything is already there. For local tournaments, I like to meal prep a little bit ahead of time because, I don't have to go to a store and buy something or at a gas station because it's only a few hour drive. The night before, I can prepare some meals I have, put them in a little box, good to go. So other than consumables, your apparel. What should you wear? What can you wear? What should you have available?
I like this. Interesting topic. Yeah.
So obviously you want to wear something that's comfortable. You're able to compete in. For me, I like some athletic sports pants, or if it's outside on hot, some shorts or something. If you have a team jersey or team shirt, important to represent your team, or something that's loose and athletic. I know a lot of people like to wear jeans at tournaments. I don't understand why, other than it's something that makes them comfortable. It's something that they're used to, which I encourage to stick with. But do note, some tournaments do have what do they call them? A dress code. Example being at Worlds, we have to have our team jersey, and this year and historically our team jersey, whatever country you are, and long black pants. This year we have our team jersey, and we need to have a team pant with it for Team USA. So do note that some tournaments, though it's rare for local and state usually, but there are some tournaments that there is a dress code in which you have to abide by. Example, most people, or not most, but a lot of people like to wear hats at tournaments. At Worlds, at least as far as IFA Worlds, it is not allowed. unless it is for like religious purpose and such. So keeping that in mind when getting ready for your tournament, what clothing you could or should consider bringing to a tournament. Now, depending on the venue, some tournaments are held outdoors. Oftentimes in summer, it's very hot. Other times, tournaments are held indoors, whether it's at a bar, a convention center and such. It can get really cold. I'm one who gets really cold easily.
Mhm.
So I always have some sort of loose sweater, a hoodie, or some type of warm jacket with me, something that I can easily throw on, throw off, not have to like climb in and out of, but as soon as the match is over, put it on, stay warm, take it off. Having a pair of arm warmers. A lot of people like to have arm warmers to warm up, keep arms, from getting cold. But I'll give you an example of some possible concerns with it. In the 2022 Worlds in France, prior to my match, it was very cold in there, so I put on the arm warmers. I've worn the arm warmers before, and I'd practiced a little bit, but never before a tournament and never for the duration that I did. So I had the arm warmers on for, I don't know, 30 minutes or so. We're getting ready to go on to compete. 10 minutes prior, I take them off to get warm up. And my arm feels a little off, really off. Like I don't know what's going on. And the problem I had is because the arm warmers were tight, it was constricting a little bit of blood flow. So when I'm at the table, I'm not getting the blood flow I should have prior to that match because it's still coming back in from the arm warmer. There are other arm warmers that are a little bit looser, sort of like a sweater, a jacket. But if you're never worn an arm warmer prior to a tournament, that is something to consider, is how that affects your physiology. Do you have reduced blood flow when you have it on? When you take it off, how long do you need to get everything going again? Also, perhaps some sweatpants if you're wearing shorts and you don't want to get cold. Something I started wearing, I think, a year and a half ago and bringing are mittens. So if you see me at a tournament indoors, good chance it looks like I'm foraging in some type of winter wonderland. I have this little warm wool overcoat. I got a sweater on, got my arm warmers, and I got mittens. The reason I started wearing mittens because as someone who gets cold very easily, my hands would be ice cold. So you can imagine, and the hand is an important aspect in arm wrestling. If your hand's cold and don't have as much dexterity, don't have as much blood flow, that could be a big problem. So having mittens or some type of hand warmer, keep your hands warm, ready to go. Perfect. Possibly bringing a blanket. That could be helpful. There's a lot of downtime in tournaments, a lot of sitting potentially. Having a little blanket to throw on, keep you warm, could be helpful. Another thing is a spare change of just some casual clothes after a tournament. Depending on where the tournament is, how you've traveled for it or not, you may not want to return back to the hotel room to change. There may be some type of after party you just briefly want to appear at, but going through all the effort to back to the hotel room, getting the Uber ride back, changing, etc., might be not worth it. But having a spare change of clothes to just throw on after the tournament, maybe it was super hot, you're super sweaty, and you want to get out of those clothes. Having a spare change on hand resolves a lot of that issue. As always, you'll need some place to store these garments, a duffel bag, backpack, something to house those items. Perfect. Any questions so far?
I think this is great. Yeah, you're bringing up a lot of things that I don't think get talked about very often, from what you're going to be wearing for comfort and everything like that. If anyone is a jeans wearer, like me, I did find I always wear the same pair that's kind of elastic. It's very comfortable for me. They do make those, but also the bag, bringing a bag. Yeah, that's super, super important, I think. Now that I'm a dad and I have to rock diaper bags, I suggest to anybody that doesn't even have a baby, like get a diaper bag. Those things, mine has these little coolers like on the side, like cooler pouches, you know. Johnny Dang, who's one of my teammates comes in here a lot on the show. He when we had our baby, he gifted us a really cool tactical. You guys should look it up. It's a tactical diaper bag. I think it says on the back Call of Duty, Doodie. But it's a sweet bag. Like I've been using it the last, I think, two or three tournaments I've been to, and yeah, it's done. You could, yeah, fit your after party clothes in it. You could fit your gallon and a half of water in there, your aminos, your food, like you could fit all that crap in there. But
Oh,
yeah.
you just wait till you start pushing the stroller around more. Mm. You're gonna be like, dude, it's like a U-Haul.
Yeah,
This is what with
that's
everything you want.
that's what I love it for. Yeah, you could just put so much crap in that thing. All
Yeah.
right, well,
No,
beautiful.
everything
Yeah.
Santino is saying is perfect. It's all things that I think we, at least us who have been, at it for a couple of years and trying to be dedicated to it, we've all thought about these things. One of the reasons why I don't really like to wear jeans and stuff, just because of flexibility and mobility. And then also, completely aside from uh, the idea of just, comfort, I feel like when we're all wearing jeans and t-shirts, man, the aesthetic makes us
Mhm,
look like those ballroom guys. It just
mhm,
we don't take it serious enough to have a uniform or like a really athletic. Like if you look at the Armenian team, you look at Voskin's team, they all show up in the same gear. They all show up with those flexible windbreaker type pants and whatever. And yeah, I mean, I feel like there's something to that. And then definitely not having to leave your post, and having everything there with you, like Santino was saying, drinks and
mhm.
snacks and stuff like that is super important. Because both of the expos that I've been to, um, yeah, the line was like an hour standing in the line, just to get up to the front. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
So to go ahead.
And just a quick hello here to everyone in the chat. The Drew, thanks for popping in here. Todd Colazzo is in the house. Todd, it was good to see you and Elijah at Drill Night last night with Alpha Empire. And we got Matt Silva in the house. What's up, Matt? Adrian Martin is in the house, says Killer Suit Santino. Yeah, looking very dapper. And yeah, dude, thank you for the whole setup. This looks beautiful, man. Looking forward to doing a lot of these. Benjimac is in the house moderating, says hit that like button. Yeah, man. All right, well, yeah, let's get to it. What else do you have for us on team?
So along with bringing certain things, another thing you should bring or consider to bring are any medications you happen to need, any supplements, other recovery items that are consumable. Have those on hand. Example, I always have a little thing of ibuprofen with me. Obviously, we all know the pains that come with arm wrestling, especially when we start out or after a long, tough tournament. A lot of the times, I like to take an ibuprofen a little bit before I compete. So by the time I'm almost done and that pain would start to set in, the ibuprofen will help take a little bit of the edge off and help recovery after the tournament. Because nobody likes that 3 to 4 hour car ride back home
Mhm,
with your arms completely destroyed and unusable.
mhm.
But being proactive in your recovery can help alleviate that. So having your medications, supplements, other recovery consumables ready to go, huge help.
Let me ask a question on that. What's
Mhm.
your stance on things like that, supplemental aids for maybe joints or recovery? Like, are you a glucosamine with chondroitin kind of guy? Are you a fish oils? What do you personally suggest in terms of keeping yourself healthy?
Yeah, for me, no, being young helps obviously in recovery. So it's not, my joints can recover quicker, but I like to take a multivitamin, every day. At times when my arms and stuff do fatigue or blow up, some type of icy hot or other topical to help alleviate some of that. At times I've gone to using or incorporating more turmeric in some of my like drinks, protein shakes, something like that, because turmeric does have some anti-inflammatory properties to it. Usually things like that for me. But as anyone could point out, everyone's got a good, I feel, anyone who's been in the sport for a few years has a good idea of the supplements or things to help recovery, as they've obviously had to resort to using those with the experience they have, just because how strenuous arm wrestling can be on your system.
Definitely. Yeah.
But having those at hand at a tournament, whether it's for yourself or for a fellow teammate, I would say I've helped more teammates with the ibuprofen and stuff than I've personally used of myself, but that's something that is beneficial to everybody. So along with those medications, recovery items, social media, huge aspect in our sport, along with basically every aspect of our lives these days. But your media equipment, what you bring, obviously everyone has their phone with them. And if you have your phone, oftentimes you're going to have your pair of headphones with you, whether it's listening to music or something to zone in, zone out. Some of us have dedicated cameras we bring. A tripod, whether it's a small one for your phone, a large one for a stand-up camera. Making sure you have chargers, extra batteries for your phone, camera, Bluetooth headphones. Making sure everything's charged, ready to go. Well, you're going to need it, because you don't want to be that one person that's like, okay, got to record my match and oh, my phone's dead. Oh, how am I going to get back to the Airbnb? Uh-oh. Yeah, does anyone have a charger? iPhone, Samsung, Galaxy? Making sure you have those ready for a tournament, hugely important. Cash. Cash is king in our sport. I don't know of a single event in which case the main form of payment is not cash. Now, usually, yeah, oftentimes you think
cash in there.
Oftentimes in tournaments, there's always an ATM, or you're going to stop on the way there or something. But I recommend having this taken care of the day before, because you might go to some state fair, looking around, don't have cash, but trying to find the ATM machine. Is it on the other side of there? You might be running late. You might not have time to stop somewhere on the way to your event. Having that taken care of ahead of time saves you a lot more stress leading into that tournament when you're signing up. You might be running late, have to weigh in, but I got to go find the ATM machine. Does anyone spot me? Do they take Venmo, Cash App? Having that taken care of beforehand makes everything easier, in my opinion. If you are cutting weights, it is absolutely necessary. No negotiations, no argument. You must have some type of portable or travel scale with you if you are cutting weight. This is the one I used. You can see it's very small. I can fit this in a duffel bag, gym bag, backpack. Hell, I could just carry it with me. The reason why you need a scale with you when you are cutting weight is you got to make sure you're on weight. You don't want to be the one guy who shows up who's just trying to figure out if they're on weight. Most events have their scales with them, but as we've been to various events, that scale isn't always available when you get there. Sometimes they don't have a scale for you to test on. If you're cutting weight, you need to know where you're at, how much time you have left for you to recover. The sooner you get weighed in, the sooner you can get recovery. Example, at Nationals, I had to cut about 4 pounds the morning of weigh-ins. I had my scale with me. I went through my whole protocol, just sweating, relaxing, letting the weight drop naturally. Having that scale with me saved me about 5 hours of recovery time I got back, because when I checked my weight, I was about 2 pounds under. So being 2 pounds under allowed me to start my recovery process, slowly introducing some electrolytes, a little bit of sodium, maybe a little nibble on a little bit of carbs. So I can preemptively start that recovery process instead of trying to wait till 6 o'clock that evening to start the recovery. Having a scale with you, important, very important if you're cutting weight. Cannot stress that enough. The amount of people at nationals this year, but when they went up to the official scale, who had not weighed themselves since they left their homes, however many days or what have you, had no idea where their weight was at, just stripping down, hoping they're close, when in reality, they still have 2 pounds to go. So cannot stress the importance of having a travel scale with you if you are cutting weights. Another thing to consider. Oh, yes, go ahead.
Is there allowance at nationals or worlds?
There is 0 clothing allowance.
Okay.
So there are some competitors who had to go to the bathroom to get weighed in so they could strip completely naked to get those last few ounces. Wow. And it matters. Yeah. Another thing to help with that weight cutting process to have with you, I didn't bring it out here, but a sauna suit. You can buy them on Amazon for, I don't know, 20, 30 bucks maybe. You can use a trash bag, but be professional. You got to cut weight. You want to get it done as efficiently and as quickly as possible. Having a sauna suit greatly helps that sweating process, because that's important. A lot of times in sports and stuff, we're over a few pounds, we got to sweat it out. So we're going to go outside and we're going to sprint. We're going to get on a bike and we're just going to work out. Obviously, if that's all you have to do available, or that's all you know how to do, then you go forth with it. But also recognizing there is a huge drawback, because if you're cutting weight, cutting water, you're already dehydrated or starting to dehydrate to begin with. You haven't had much to eat, so you're low on energy. Doing some type of strenuous workout to sweat is going to further drain you, make that recovery a little bit longer, a little bit more difficult. Having something like a sauna suit, example, nationals, most of my sweating, I didn't have to do anything. I got into a hot bath for 20 minutes, sweated about, I don't know, 6, 7 ounces out, I believe, pound and 7 ounces. Then put on a sauna suit, got under the covers, blankets and everything, just sat. Absolutely sat, relaxed, watched some TV, did absolutely nothing, and lost the remaining 2 pounds. A lot easier, a lot less stressful than, I don't know, going outside, putting on some rocky music and jogging around the place. Sauna suit expedites that sweating process immensely. Encourage you who need to do water cuts, have one of those, possibly extra blankets or sweaters, because another example, the hotel I was staying at, Nationals, didn't have a lot of blankets for the hotel room. Not really any comfort or anything, but because I had extra sweatshirts, sweaters, sweatpants, I didn't need it. I was able to bundle up and get covered, make that sweating process easy. Obviously, that brings up, how to cut weight. And this isn't a segment for water cutting or weight cutting, but a part of setting a schedule for preparation for a tournament is to recognize how much weight you need to cut for your weight class. Are you going to gradually lose a few pounds of body weight, body fat over, I don't know, a month, couple months, or maybe 3-week period of maybe a pound, pound and a half, 2 pounds? Or do you plan on doing a water cut? Things to consider. Have you ever water cut before? Making sure you do your research so you can do that safely. Because we've seen from UFC fighters that go through hell just to barely make weight, and that isn't healthy for anybody. So making sure that your weight is at a manageable level, whether it's dropping a few pounds or water cutting prior to that tournament, having a schedule and protocol to follow, greatly helpful. So we're getting ready for the tournament now. You've got your objective for this event. You've got your travel and accommodation set up, your equipment. Oh, which bring up briefly, equipment. So I bring this bag with me to every tournament I go to. And this bag contains all the training equipment I generally use. So obviously it's a little bit full because I have some extra things. So straps, I always have at least 2 straps on me for any given tournament. Why? Well, we're arm wrestlers, so anyone's been at a after pull or practice, everybody's looking around for anybody got a strap. As an arm wrestler, you should always have a strap. A wrist wrench. So this is one I work out with. Generally, I don't bring this to tournaments or events just because it's a little bit harder. I do need some type of cable attachment, which a lot of hotel gyms have those. Encourage you to use those, but I'll have this with me. This wrist wrench, always with me. A belt, a little karate belt. So bands, towel, and some grippers. Now, why? Why do I have all this equipment with me? What purpose does this serve? Why not just one of these little bands? That should be enough, shouldn't it? Well, I'll tell you, it is not enough. And I'll cover why it is not enough when we get to the day of what you should do when you're at the tournament. But having your training equipment with you at your event is important. Need to have that with you. So we have our travel accommodations, our want. We got our snacks, our drinks, our beverages, what we need for nutrition wise. We got our recovery equipment, our tools, our massagers, our medications. We got our training equipment. We got our phone, camera. We got all that. We got 1 week left to go. What should we do in our spare time leading up to this tournament? No, our training is done. We're just now relaxing, recovering, anticipating. So I recommend you stay somewhat active. Depending on when your training stopped, just keeping some little activity. Again, not really to test the muscle, fatigue, anything, but just to stay physically and mentally in the mindset of arm wrestling. So that just could be arm wrestling with somebody with zero pressure, zero resistance, completely relaxed. And if you don't have a training partner or no one's practicing, just being at the table yourself, just moving, keeping active in the spirit of arm wrestling. One, physically will keep you zoned into arm wrestling moves, and mentally should keep you relaxed. Staying properly hydrated the night before, days of leading up to tournament, unless those exceptions where you are cutting water, you are cutting weight, in which case you need to adjust that, obviously. Having a nutritious meal leading up to the tournament, night before, something easily digestible carbs, a little bit of protein, maybe a little bit of fats, but something healthy, something nutritious, something that's going to give you the energy the next day. Obviously, if you're cutting weight, different scenario. But making sure you're properly fed and hydrated the night of and the morning of the tournament, getting a good, proper night's sleep if you can, which depending on the level of the tournament can be a lot harder. Trying to get a good night's sleep before competing for a world title is a lot more stressful and anxiety, just a little bit more exciting than the tournament at the state fair. But regardless of what tournament, what level, what seriousness, you should approach each situation as the professional athletes you guys all are. So, any questions so far leading up to our tournaments?
Is psychology a big component for you in that week prior to the event? Meditation, when you say keeping busy, does the psychological and mental factor play a big role in this?
For me, it absolutely does. Mainly, as I said at the start, having a goal, an objective, a want gives you a clear path, a clear mind, and allows you to focus in on something.
Mm.
And no matter what level you are as an arm wrestler, it can keep you going in the sport. An example, when I started out, just coming up Hawthorne next May, the next month, that's my anniversary tournament. And when I started out, basically the same weight I is now, I had zero shot. I knew going in from practicing with everyone to an official tournament where the weight class is 165 pounds for lightweight. I'm 30 pounds under that. I'm going to get my ass handed to me. I could potentially getting a serious injury competing at such a strength gap. And I'm not going to be at all competitive. It's just going to be 1, 2. How am I preparing for that? No, because nobody wants to do that. And if you're at such a light weight and no understanding, that's going to be just about almost every tournament you go to. So how can you get your mind to stay active in the sport and not just say, "No, this isn't for me"? And for me in that situation, it's just accepting things that I know to be true. I'm not as strong as everybody. Everyone's got more experience. This is my first tournament. But it went into the mindset of, I don't care. I'm here to arm wrestle. I'm here to gain experience. Doesn't matter if I lose. Doesn't matter if a match is even competitive. But just for me, personally, driving all the way out to Hawthorne by myself, going to my first tournament, meeting other arm wrestlers for the first time, some big names here. Gaining that experience was my goal for that tournament. So I competed in the amateur class. I stepped up and competed against the pros in the pro class.
Mm.
But because I had that objective, that want, that goal, helped me continue on after that tournament. Go to the next tournament. Yeah, it's the same situation. I'm going to get my ass kicked. But I'm doing this because I want the experience. It gives you something to build on. And another example, it's like this tournament, okay, I'm going to work on my hook. I don't care if I get flash bend or something, but if I can really work on that hook, that's my goal for this tournament. Having that goal psychologically helps you, one, gives you something to work for, which is always a benefit. Also helps stave off some of those negative thoughts we all have in competing and in life, whether or not we're good enough, whether or not we're worthy of being at the same table with some of these guys here. Having our own personal goal really is the most important thing when going into a tournament, super match or something. Gives you something to focus on, keeps your mind at ease, and just helps everything come together of why you're there. So it's the day of the tournament. What are you going to do? Well, I can tell you, all the hard work is done. You're ready. There's not much left to do. But the few things there are important and can make your day a lot longer and a lot more stressful than it should be. So when to arrive? You should arrive at the venue of this tournament as early as you can, as early as feasible for you. Obviously, if you're traveling, you're flying in, it's a long drive, that time might adjust, but as early as you can get there, be there. Doesn't mean you have to stay the entire time, but you want to get there as early as possible. And the reason why, you want to get weighed in, you want to sign up, get all that taken care of as early as possible. That way you don't have to deal with it afterwards, especially if you're weighing in. Anyone who's had to cut weight or knows, as early as possible, night before, 2 days before. Can I send you a phone of my weight? So get there early, get signed in, get checked in, done. Find a place to set up. This is very important. Arm wrestling tournaments can get very busy, very crowded, very quickly, depending on the venue where you're at. Because you have, or I should say, because you are now well prepared with all your training equipment, your media equipment, food, drink, ice chest, coolers, clothing, having a good little camp set up is important, because you don't want to be having to search for things or trying to figure out where you're going to pitch this tent for your little tripod, for your little GoPros, what have you. So getting there early, pick out where you want to be. I'm generally always the first person that almost every tournament I've gone to. A lot of times I'm there before the promoter's even there, just because I want to know where I want to set up. Because, example, I bring my tripod a lot. Obviously, I don't want to be setting it up in the middle where it's distracting everybody, it's blocking the pathway. But I also want to set it up to where it's going to actually record something.
Mm-hmm.
So every layout, every venue is different, but getting there early, picking out what seats you want. If you have friends, family coming over, making sure they're comfortable as well. Because what ends up happening is, you sit down, and if you don't have things there to make it clear that that's your seat, you go up to compete, you turn around, and your seat's gone. Your water is nowhere to be found, and you're just looking like, anybody see anything? Having a proper setup, very important. Along the lines of filming and recording your matches, most matches, most tournaments do get posted to YouTube, which is great. But sometimes not everyone's matches make the cut. Oftentimes the amateur class gets left out because there's multiple tables running. Certain matches might get missed. It's important to have all your ready goes on camera, not just for you to share with your friends and family your accomplishments, but for you to study, break down, and understand what went right, what went wrong, what you can learn from. You need somebody to have, or you need somebody to film for you, because obviously you can't film for yourself. But it is absolutely important that you take care of who will be your cameraman before the tournament begins. If you're traveling with friends and family, to let them know beforehand, because there is nothing worse than when I'm getting ready to compete, you're locked in, you're zoned in, you're ready to go. Hey, you want to step over here and record my match? And you're just looking like, what do you mean? I'm up, like I'm on deck, I can't do it. Or you're that person who wants their match filmed, and you're scrambling, grabbing your phone, looking around, anybody record it. They don't know how you want it recorded. They don't know what angle you want it at. You don't know how much lead up they want captured with it. Asking someone to be your cameraman beforehand, letting them know how your phone or camera operates, the angles you want, how much after the pole you want, how much leading up to the pole you want, what level of elevation you want, can play a role. Because having your matches on film during a tournament is important. The higher level tournament it is, as most those tournaments allow you to protest a call. In order to protest a call, you have to provide evidence of what you're protesting.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have it on film, it's like go kick rocks next in line. But having that person knowing what they're looking for, you have it right there, you're ready to go. Everything is nice and organized. You don't have to deal with trying to find the next person to record your match. As we talked about the last week, before the tournament, I asked Robert Terry if he would be my cameraman for me. He was willingly to do it. I let him know how everything worked. Took a lot of stress off of me of having to have my matches recorded. Everything was taken care of. Along with having someone there to record your matches, having someone as your cornerman is important.
Mm.
Oftentimes it's usually a teammate or some seasoned veteran. But the reason I think it's important to make this distinguishment before a tournament is when you're at the table, everyone's cheering, everyone's giving advice. You'll be hearing a lot of things. Cup, rise, roll, back, drag, side, hook, elbow. And if you're someone who is trying to gain certain advantages. Maybe that person sees something. You've got 100 different voices telling you different things. And some of these phrases you might not even have heard of. What the hell does like fish tank mean? I don't know what that is. But having a dedicated person whose voice and only voice is what you're going to be listening to, not only whose voice, but what it is you want them to be advising you on. Because sometimes you might not want to have any advice from anybody at all, mainly because no, they're not at the table. They don't feel the pressures you're feeling or seeing the things you are. So they might be seeing you need to pronate more, but you at the table think, no, that's not it. You're distracting me. Shut up. But no, having it beforehand, who that person's going to be, what advice you'd like for them, what you want them to be watching for is helpful, because if they're around your camera person or are your camera person, if all you want for them is just to watch for their opponent to elbow foul or certain rule breaks infractions so that they may present that as evidence if you need to protest. Having that set up before the tournament, imperative you do that. So you've got that stuff already set up. As soon as you arrive, you're ready to go. Camera set up, equipment set up, little whole line of chairs, all reserved. You got your corner man picked out. Got a couple hours before the tournament actually kicks off. And if it's an arm wrestling tournament like I know them, that could be even longer. So what do? So depending on the venue, you want to get acquainted with the atmosphere. So what does that mean? Different tournaments, different levels, have this different aura, this different atmosphere when you get there. The venue, the smell, the sights, who's there, the passerbys, where it's at. The feeling I got from the venue at Worlds in France in 2022, different than the one I had at Nationals just a few weeks ago. Different than the first tournament I had at Hawthorne. Different than the sweltering sun at Patterson just a few years ago. Getting acquainted with that atmosphere mentally helps you get a little bit more relaxed. The moment's not going to get you. The whole crowd of a fitness expo watching you step up the stage, that's nothing. What I do to lock in, I'll walk around the area or where we're competing, all the seats, the different angles, different places someone could see, just relax and get myself familiar with the environment. As soon as I'm ready to get into the spirit of the tournament, I go to the table. Now, because I'm there early, there's nobody there. And I encourage this aspect, if not just for the mental relaxation, but the actual competitive aspect of it. So I get to the table, nobody there, just me, myself, and I. And I'm at the table and I'm just going through the motions. Just shadow boxing, shadow wrestling, just myself. Every position, every technique, where my legs are going to be placed. Am I going to use a riser? Getting acquainted with the riser. Example, speaking of riser, tournament in Vegas. The riser there wobbled when I stood on it. It was possible that if I used it and pushed back, it would slide out from underneath me. But because I got acquainted with it before the tournament, gave me some knowledge of what could or couldn't happen. This last tournament, Nationals, the riser tested it out, no wobbles at all. Is that why you want to go to the table and test it out by yourself? No matter how long you've been arm wrestling, no matter how many tables you've gone on, they're all a little bit different. And what I mean by that, every tournament I go to, if I have the time and I'm not, say, refereeing or help running it, I test the table, I test the elbow pad. Where is that slick spot? Where is that soft spot? Where is that hard point? Because a lot of times you'll be right on the edge, you'll feel fine, you move, all of a sudden, you're off the table. How much pressure needs to be applied there before that break happens? How does it happen? Having that tactile knowledge of every table you go to compete at is hugely beneficial. Especially, given another example, at Nationals, I had my opponent right here, elbow right here on this edge, right here. and I'm right here. My position is okay, but I know it could change at any moment. But I recognize, one, where he's at, and two, because I went through this before the tournament, I know how much pressure is necessary for this edge to roll, for his elbow to slide off. So what I do, I notice, and I hit, and I hit, and I hit, and that knowledge, just a little buckle bobble. That was his second foul. That was his loss. He's out of that class. I quickly get on, recovered in between rounds, get ready for the next one. That came from having that knowledge of going to the table beforehand, touching all the hand pegs, getting a feel for the elbow pads, where I can brace up against. Again, both from a mental aspect of just getting my mind relaxed, comfortable at the table. So no matter what position I'm in, I was here just 30 minutes ago, an hour ago. And also, obviously, the knowledge of where the spots on this pad and table are. Hugely, hugely important.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I really dig that. Yep.
So that leads up into the warm-up. So I start the warm-up with that. Depending on the day, depending on the drive and travel, I might, do a little bit, just a whole body stretching, just to relax, take out any kinks and whatnot. So when should you start your warm-up? Well, as the same with training, everybody is different. Me personally, as soon as I get there, the process starts. Usually that's 2 hours to an hour and a half. I like to start no earlier than an hour and a half if I'm not helping run the event or doing any refereeing or anything else, but just as a competitor, at least an hour and a half. Now that may seem like an exceptionally long time to warm up, especially if you're pulling a long time. Because normally with arm wrestlers, we're used to our warm-ups or used to seeing your warm-up be usually, oftentimes, a little green band here. You'll step on it or something and do some pronation, some rise, some here, just working it out. Maybe you might get a bigger band, 50-pound band. Oh, and you'll do that about 10 to 15 minutes before you go up. You'll get your partner or somebody, stand in line with the other 40 other people at the two tables trying to get at the table. 1, 2, yeah, that feels good. Okay, we're good. We're ready to go. Oftentimes that is your warm-up, and I cannot express to you how unwarm your arms actually are. How do I know you're not actually warmed up? Is I break it down in this analogy. Most people do some form of gym training or exercise or have done in the past. And as such, oftentimes many people like to test their 1 rep max, their personal PRs. You hear it a lot of time, like at arm wrestling, when you're at the table, you want to be able to hit your 1 rep PR. That's what you're trying to go to. And I ask you, every time you've attempted your personal best, your personal record, PR, how much warm up, how many working sets do you do before you even attempt to hit that 1 rep max? The answer is, or should be, dependent, but there is quite a bit. Nobody goes into a gym, loads up the deadlift, and just goes, okay, I'm just max effort cold off the start. That is a good idea to, 1, injure yourself, and 2, underperform. Same thing at an arm wrestling table. Why would you approach the table going in completely cold, but yet expecting that you're going to get your maximum strength, your maximum effort out of that? So when you warm up, you should take that same attitude and approach as when you work out to get your working sets, your personal best. So obviously, hour and a half for me. I start out slowly. I'll stretch. I'll do those little bands just to lightly get into the motions. Then slowly, because I have all my training equipment with me, I can up the intensity, start getting more low, just a little bit, getting to a working set. But because I'm doing this early and have plenty of time, I'm not going to fatigue or blow up my arm prior to I compete. I have ample of time to get fully pumped, ready to go, Because oftentimes at practice, midway through or something, that's when you're starting to feel good. It's like, okay, now we're getting here somewhere.
Yep.
Same thing preparing for a tournament. Also, it's important to warm up the entire chain. So what I mean by chain. So in arm wrestling, we're familiar with no hand, wrist, pronation, supination, rise, and such. But there's more to it than just here. Your shoulders, your traps, your lats, your back, your core, at times your legs, your chest. This entire chain needs to be warmed up for it to, again, function properly. And that takes time. You know, it takes time to warm up your pecs a little bit. It takes time to warm up your back a little bit, and so on and so forth. But having that equipment there, I'm able to warm up the entire chain as best I can with that equipment I have. Obviously, if I'm at a hotel or something, they've got a gym, I'm doing a little light gym workout the night before just to make sure everything's limber, and the morning of, just so I can more efficiently warm up and prime those muscles. And again, how you warm it's depending on the tournament. Example being in Vegas, when I'm pulling 6 classes, my warm-up is going to be a little bit different because I know I have a lot longer, quote unquote, working out I do at the table throughout that tournament. So I might back off some of the intensity in the warm-up. I know I might not try to hit a peak hit versus, you know, if I'm just doing my one weight class, potentially I only have two matches. So as soon as I step up to the table, first match, I'm completely ready to go. There's no, after that one match, yeah, I could be stronger. Or worst case, you're in the after polls and you still feel really fresh and if not stronger than you did at the tournament. That's backwards. By the time you get to that after poll, you should be just like, I don't have much for you, and if anything at all. So properly warming up, taking your time, slowly increasing the intensity as you would if you're in a gym or something, to make sure you're getting your maximal effort. Because unfortunately, arm wrestlers, in my opinion, I have not seen warm up in a manner that indicates they are going to be capable of giving their 1 rep max, as so often we hear. So make sure your warm-ups, you have time, because obviously if you're running late, you might not have as much time, but understand the importance and dedicate your time to make sure you're ready. Questions so far on the warm-up aspect?
No, I'm just, yeah, taking it all in. That's amazing. Yeah, it does seem like the vast majority don't do that. And the only ones that I have seen do that, you know, in their own way, they're all really good, successful arm wrestlers. And I guess I do have a question. A lot of the typical times I see a lot of the higher level people warm up more intensely. It's usually at the table with another human.
I was just, I
that
forgot
have
to
the
mention
same.
that, bring that up, but yes, finish, please.
Okay, yeah, and it's usually two decently high level people that seem to share the same ideals in terms of getting their CNS system active and all that. I find it really interesting that you have this bag of all these progressive bands and you know, amounts of pressure that you can do it in that controlled way. Do you do both, or do you prefer one or the other?
Yes, I forgot to mention because I have it written here, but
Mhm.
I generally don't warm up at the table with another person
Okay.
for a couple reasons. I will occasionally, again, it's a great way to warm up if done properly. But so the 2 problems I have with it are, one, oftentimes arm wrestlers warm up too late, like 10 minutes. You hear the announcement, arm wrestlers get warmed up. By the time the promoters, whoever's running the brackets, start to say warm up, I'm already 10 minutes ahead of them. I stopped warming up 15 minutes ago. Now it's just maintaining a relaxed state, letting my muscles not deload, but just a little relax. I've done my working out, just taking that, like 2 to 3 minute break as you would in a workout to hit that next rep, extend that out a little bit more. So when I'm coming to the table, I'm completely fresh, but still primed and ready to go. But so most arm wrestlers, when it's time to warm up at the table, you've got 40 people trying to grab a spot at that table.
Sure.
And you're not able to properly get as much time in as you would like. Another problem I have with table workouts is oftentimes the person who isn't as strong ends up working out a certain aspect of their arm a lot harder than they want to, just by the nature of not being as strong as the other person, or not being able to properly communicate what it is you actually want to work out. Because when you're going back and forth with arm wrestling, certain muscle groups might be getting a lot more work than the others, which is a problem. So at the times I do incorporate some table workout, obviously it's done a lot earlier, like before people are still signing up. I'm halfway through my warm-up routine, basically. But at the times I are with a person, I always have them use 2 hands. One, it saves their muscles any extra effort they may not want to be putting on it. And 2, it allows me to dictate specifically where I want these pressures applied and what I want to work out. Oftentimes, it's a lot of just some isometric or static here and certain aspects with the focus. Okay, I want you to cover here and really work that pronation, just to hold. Okay. And a lot of times is I'll incorporate a little bit of some power movements, having them hold on 2 hands. We're here, we're locked in. It's just power or power, just so I can fire up that CNS just a little bit to incorporate some working load into it, but also have it be controlled to where I'm not going to risk any injury or anything or blowing up the muscle group too much. But it allows me to get a feel for, a little bit higher intensity. So when I step up to the table, I'm already prepared for that. So as working out at the table, I encourage you to work 2 hands with a teammate or something, save you extra work, and have them do the same for you so you can pinpoint exactly what you want work to be done. After you work out, after your warm-up, you should have some time just to breathe, just to decompress, just relax a little bit so you're not fully pumped with like 3 minutes left before your name is called. Just to take some time to take that stress off the muscles for a little bit. So in terms of warm-ups, I encourage everyone to spend more time than they think they have or have done in the past and see how that works for them. And just remember how they train in the gym. Try to incorporate some of that aspect and warm up for the table. So we've done our warm-ups. We're hydrated. We've got enough nutrition and energy in us. We're getting ready to go. You hear on the announcement, brackets, please come to the brackets to make sure you are in the right weight class. Come see us if you are not. Know your brackets. It's a personal pet peeve of mine, and I'm sure it is of every referee, every bracket runner, every event organizer, every promoter, when they call so-and-so's name and they're nowhere to be found. They didn't tell everyone where they were going. It's like, we got 30 seconds. We'll give them a little bit longer. Where are they? Nobody knows. Don't be that person. Know what bracket you are. You are in the proper bracket when you are going to be competing, and stay in the area. Don't wander off. Remember, you're here to arm wrestle. Now you're paying whatever it is, the fee to compete, to arm wrestle. Your focus should be on arm wrestling, because you're a professional athlete. Everything you need is within arm's distance of you. You don't need to be wandering out over there, unless it's some sort of emergency. Of course, we all understand, but that's important. If you need, for whatever reason, to leave the little area where you're competing, let somebody know. I am someone who, as soon as the tournament goes, I have to go to the bathroom like every 4 minutes, constantly in and out. But before every time I go, I make sure I look at my teammate or a bracket person or right here that I am going to go to the bathroom. If my name is called, please let bracket runner here know where I am. Just so that in the event I get called, nobody's wandering around, where's Tino at? Everybody knows. But don't assume that they will postpone your match extra or move on to the next one because you, for have whatever reason, left the venue. But letting the bracket runner know, letting your teammate know where you are and what the situation is, one, it's more respectful for the event, the organizers, everybody involved, and in most cases will be accommodating. You know, you're in the bathroom, okay, we'll move on to the next round till you get back. But if you just go, not let anybody know, they have no idea where this guy is. Maybe he went home. You end up with a loss when you should not have had one. So know your brackets, know when you're going to be up and how long it take. Again, as a lightweight, I'm generally up first. So as soon as the tournament's up, I know where I'm at. But if you're someone who's at a heavier weight class, or they might be running amateurs or pros first, it could be 4 hours until you go. Maybe you're only doing one arm and that isn't until later in the day. Well, that throws things off, doesn't it? But if you have set up a schedule, it shouldn't be a problem. Everything else is set up and ready to go. You just make an adjustment to your time frame. But because tournaments sometimes don't always run on time, sometimes run a little bit longer, to be mindful of that clock. And when you think you might be up, show up extra early. Always keep tabs on what the weight class is up, how deep is it, how much longer until you're up. Because one, that'll help you properly get warmed up for your match. Make sure you got the energy required. All those little things, very important. Knowing your bracket, keeping people informed when you need to step away. Your name gets called. Kane Fontecchio, Sontino Bravo, table 1. Now what? How should you compete when you step up to that table? One, there is a professional and athletic component, and then there is a personal and philosophical component to it. There are some arm wrestlers who will have a bad position, but they are dedicated and will hold and stay in that bad position because that's their personal philosophy. That's how they want to compete. That's how they want to fight, is they'll hold and hold and hold. And if they lose, they lose. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. But also there's the competitive, athletic, and say professional aspect of, I'm in a bad position here. Lift my elbow up, take a foul, reset. I got 30 seconds because of the foul. I'll grab some chalk, buy some time, come up with a game plan, make that adjustment, get back to the table. There's that aspect to it. There are competitors who like to have a little bit of showmanship, got a little bit of ego, a little bit of an edge. They got a position. Oh, they're good. They'll hold you, they'll look at you, they'll taunt you, they'll look at that cutie in the crowd, what's up, and just hold. One, if that's your MO, if that's your personal philosophy or whatever, that's for you. But from a professional aspect, do not do this at all. Finish your match as quickly and efficiently as possible. Why? It ain't a pen till the referee calls it and the next person is up at the table. What can go wrong will go wrong. I cannot tell you how many times somebody thinks they got a good position and they're egging them on. They go for a surge. Okay, it's not there, but oh, I got this. I got this. Another one.
Oops.
Another one. Uh-oh. And it's like, shit, what? I look like an idiot because there's no way someone like me should be able to beat you. But if you're someone like me, and I know a lot of you else are out there, give us an inch and we'll take a mile. You know, you have a good position here, but just we're going to restart. Not going to get that position again. You're going to hold. Well, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to quit. I'm going to wait for my opportunity because you're not focused on the match. You're focused on what's going on out there. You're focused on over here. From a professional standpoint, finish your match as fast, efficiently, and as less fatigue on your arms and body as possible. Example being nationals for me just a few weeks ago. It was a big field. National level competitors, very hard. There are some positions here where this can be an all-out war that could cost me a place at the podium, even if I win. How can I be about this smart? Right, this position is not the best. Let's get a new one. Okay, this position, I can't get another foul. It's not any better, but he's got a foul too. He's on the edge. Hit, 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 hit. He takes that foul. Victory for me. Gives me rest and moves me on to the next one. Now, obviously, some people may not like that from a personal or philosophical standpoint and don't prefer to arm wrestle like that. Me, I disagree, mainly because you're a professional athlete. I'm not testing you merely in just strength. I'm testing your table IQ. As I brought up earlier, do you know the rules of this competition? Do they know the rules of arm wrestling? How well are you prepared for this match, for this event? So I'm fighting you at this table with everything leading up to this tournament for this moment right here has prepared me for that fight. So that's how I like to philosophically prepare for matches, fight in matches, and from athletic and professional standpoint of knowing when to take a foul, or in some cases, knowing when to take a loss. Because there were some matches at Nationals where at the higher weight class, I was like, okay, this would be a hard fight just to get back to center. I got like 8 more matches. Not going to fight this one. I'll get it on the next one. And that is dependent on how you're preparing, whether or not you're preparing for a long tournament, multiple weight classes. But things to really consider is how you compete leading up to it. So obviously that incorporates your in between round recovery. You know, sometimes you might not have that much time. It might be a small bracket. You just finished one, up on the next one. Well, how are you going to recover? Well, you got what, 60 seconds? Milk that for as long as you need. Come to the table. We're ready to go. Matter of fact, I think I need some chalk. I'm gonna go over here and get some chalk. Yeah, I got chalk. Obviously, a little bit of gamesmanship, but just 15 extra seconds, give you a little bit more time to recover, get ready for that match. Or in other cases, it could possibly be another 30 minutes till you have a match. If you're in the finals, we could be there all day. Managing your recovery, keeping yourself warm and active in times where it's an extended wait, very important. Obviously, I covered protests earlier. It's important if you are going to protest, stay at the table. Don't leave, go over somewhere. I'm going to go get my camera. He's got it. Do not leave the table at all, because as soon as the next competitor steps up to the table, your match is over. You can no longer protest. Even if you're not sure whether or not you want to protest, stay at the table, talk it over with the referee. If your team captain or whoever's there, discuss it with them, but stay at the table. Even if you don't want to protest, you're still considering it. No problem if they're consulting with them. But if you're going to protest, you need to be at the table.
Great point. Yep.
So, do we have any questions so far? Because we are towards the end and getting into the after tournament section.
No, man, this is great.
Perfect.
No questions in the chat. We do have Spacey in the house also saying you are a sharp dresser. Arm Truvial is in the house. What's up, Arm Truvial? Yeah, man. Yeah, just keep it rolling. All of this is gold.
So, Your day is over, your tournament's done. Maybe you won, maybe you lost. Maybe you achieved your goal or objective. Maybe you came up just a little bit short. Now it's time to recover, process what's gone on. So, from a physical standpoint, it's important to recover. Food, water, not just any food, but something that's going to replenish all the nutrients, all the vitamins you lost, help recover. And then, enjoy yourself, enjoy your victory, find some comfort and solace in your loss. Also, as I brought up earlier, if you have any anti-inflammatory medications, things that are going to aid in that recovery of the muscle and joints, important you take care of that as soon as possible, because after party festivities can last a long time. The drive home can be up to 6 hours. Thank your team. Thank the bracket runners. Thank the venue. Thank the promoters. Show your appreciation. It goes a long way. There are a lot of people who, mostly in our sport, a lot of it is voluntary. Nobody's getting rich off this. Nobody's making any money most of the time. But just showing your thanks, appreciation, goes a long way. Makes organizers, referees, bracket runners feel better about the work they're doing. Having a good team is always important, and showing your appreciation whenever you can to them goes a long way, because this, as much as it is an individual, when you step up to the table, it's an entire team that got you to that point. Don't overlook that aspect.
Yep.
So, after polls. Okay. Important. Don't get injured. Don't overexert yourself. Risk injury in the tournament, at the table, when it's all on the line. Don't do it in the after polls, please. By the time you after poll, depending on how your day was, obviously you can be 0-2 real quick and have a lot of energy for the after polls. Touch as many hands as you can, especially ones who you might not ever get to meet. Sometimes, you go out of state for a tournament. Oh, better believe you meet everybody, bring them to the table, come over here. After polls are supposed to be fun. At least I think they are. They shouldn't be, in my opinion. Nobody likes the company of the practice poll champion. That one guy who comes up to you in the after poll saying, wow, I'm beating everybody here, but for some reason, I'm going to get it done in the tournament. And you're looking at him like, yeah, I bet. Because, no, they're starting like this and just say go, or no, you're just holding, wanting to go slow, and they're just hitting, and looking at you like you ain't nothing.
Yeah.
Appreciate them, thank them. Don't start any conflicts or drama. And if someone wants to win, let them win. Let them enjoy their win. But if you do want to be competitive in the after poll, there's a way to do it. Now, I'm not saying I do this, but every hand I grip, I'm trying to figure out how to beat you mentally. I don't fight for a position at all. We want to start like this. Okay, we'll start like this. Smash. Oh, you're strong. What if you just hold me just a little bit here? Pull back. That, if you want to be competitive as an athlete to gauge potential future matchups, after polls is a good idea to start some of that training. Obviously, you never know someone's full or best in the after poll, but just by gripping someone's hand, you get a feel, you get an idea in your head. Okay, what if I did this in an upcoming tournament? That comes from after polling. But as always, just have fun with the after polls. Grip as many hands as you can. Obviously, time permitting. Certain venues, when they got to close, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Or the event organizers got to pack up, they got to go. Obviously, respect their time and help them take down or set up if you can. but spend as much time in the after polls and the after party with everyone because it's a small community and the closeness is what makes it all worthwhile. So yeah, have a lot of fun in the after polls, touch as many hands as you can. Don't take it too seriously, but figure out your opponents for the next tournament.
Yeah.
So I hope I touched over a little bit of everything in this aspect of things to consider and preparing for a tournament. A lot more could be said and put into it, but I think it would just be overdoing it and going over something. I think I was able to cover a large area of things that can be applicable at every level, and some things that can be carried over to if you have a super match or if you have a round robin. Obviously, how you prepare for a search super match is going to be a little different than how you prepare for a tournament. And that can be a different subject for a different evening. But if anyone has any questions or differing opinions, I'd love to hear them. Obviously, I'd love to learn as much as everyone else, and what experiences other people may have or suggestions to give to others is always welcome.
Yeah, that
But
that was beautiful. This is a great this was a great episode to kick off this series. And just for the fact of, we've got River Welch in the house saying one of my favorite episodes. Thanks for all the knowledge, Santino. I find it so interesting that the information that you had on just the subject of tournament prep and a little bit on navigating the tournaments themselves is so interesting. Like in terms of the what perspective you're approaching each of these things, a lot of things that I think most of us would not think about, and to even think about what we're going to be getting into next, actual technique and mechanics. I'm really excited about that. I think you're going to have a lot of cool stuff to include. We also have Alwyn dropping in from up north saying Tino Bambino. Ace Juan is in the house saying fantastic. I mean, yeah, there's I don't know, you're very detailed. It's almost hard to have any questions because you really covered a lot of it.
I try to be as detailed and specific. One, it makes it easier for anyone to digest the information.
Right.
And when it helps me better understand what I'm saying through my experiences, sort of from things like how you to warm up. Obviously, everyone warms up before a tournament.
Right.
I would do the same thing and not think about it because you see all the experienced veterans, everyone's roughly follows similar warm up patterns. Like, this is what everyone else does. This is how you do things.
Yeah.
But then going back for myself, because my experience in the sport is different, how can I make some adjustments? How can I make some improvements? How can I be a little bit more competitive? And just rethinking things like, that does make a little bit of sense. Why do I spend more time working out or at a practice feel fresher than most people halfway through than I do at the beginning?
Right.
But yeah, that experience and trying to be as detailed as I can.
Yeah, you mentioned the after polls being one of the signs of kind of dictating how well you warmed up. And I find that very, very interesting. Absolutely the correlation to working out and stuff too. But yeah, I think a lot of us light up when we hear after polls, and it is kind of a clear indication that a good portion of us um, aren't fully or we didn't get that peak workout that we should
Mhm.
have gotten from the tournament itself. Um, Big indication. That happens to me all the time. Even when I think that I had warmed up intensely enough to light up that CNS system, wake it up a little bit. And I'm thinking, at least in my case, you tell me your thoughts. It's because typically, yeah, it is with another human, and I am trying to gauge it within a time period that's not too distant from when my class is going to start, but also not too like right before. But we're always talking within like a half hour time period. Whereas you're talking about something that you're prolonging in a controlled, progressive way over 2 hours versus just like a heavy, quick punch. Yeah, I think that's really, really interesting, and I think something that shoot a lot of us can take from.
Yeah, especially I think the timing aspect. Because like you're saying, no, that short 15, 10 minutes, like you got a little bit of something, but there's still a lot you can tap into. And like the mad rush that there is to get to the table to warm up, it's like announcers like, okay, guys, start warming up. And you got everyone's just over here just waiting in lines, like,
Yeah, yeah, it's
this, and
horrible.
obviously you don't want to hog the table. So it's like, okay, then you're over off here just trying to
Yeah,
get ready.
yeah, yeah,
When
yeah.
it adds a little bit of mental stress of saying like, am I ready? Am I warmed up enough? Like, am I there? And obviously the physical aspect, but you get there early enough, and that goes back to making everything, setting a schedule for everything. So obviously, if you're running late to a tournament or didn't have a good plan for how to travel or something, one, you're going to be a little bit later than you'd like, a little bit more stressed out.
Right.
But try to take those things into consider beforehand. Because there's some, I could assume there could be a possibility in which I don't have any other option but to be a little bit late. Maybe, perhaps the flight was delayed a lot longer than I was expecting. I didn't get enough night's rest.
Yeah.
I'm busy dealing with something stressed back home. But having some sort of schedule to accept and understand that reality will make it a little bit easier approaching those situations, I believe.
Very cool. Another thing I really take from all of this as a whole, and I think a lot of people should and probably are. So those of you that train minimally, casually, or but think you are serious about this sport or competing, and you've sacrificed at least a little bit to go and pay and register and compete. Uh, After watching this and listening to Sontino, this is your competition, everybody. There's it's definitely eye-opening, I think, for a lot of people to look at how intensely Sontino here navigates the entire process of arm wrestling. He's already got his entire year mapped out leading up to Worlds, studying his opponents that are across the country, every event, making very sharp decisions on every aspect of arm wrestling. So that's who you're competing against, and that's it might be a rude awakening, but
I think
other people are doing these things.
I think it's going to be a huge sign of encouragement. Is
Mm,
that obviously I've made some accomplishments for myself in my weight class. I'm pretty strong, but there's a lot of people who are just naturally far outclassed me in talent. And in all my experience, all my know-how, all my cerebral stuff can barely hang on. And
mm,
imagine if you guys who are neck and neck with me all of a sudden make some adjustments in your
ooh,
training and your preparation, how far that's going to take you.
mm, amazing. Yes, they call that the curse of strength. Coming in strong, or maybe a little bit gifted in certain areas, and just not putting in the work that they should, and still struggling for it. I've heard a lot of people speak on, like, John Brzenk. We all know the classic story with him, in terms of, like, he only trains with table time, and never goes to the gym, where like all these other elite people are. And um normal people trying to look at what John's doing, and a lot of people say, well, that's just John, and you can't, like, tell him he should work out or whatever, like in a gym, or do programming or anything like that, because he's John. you know and now, is John a talented, strong, special specimen? 100%. But could he be better if he took things more serious, because it's almost frustrating for a lot of people, when he can be so nonchalant about arm wrestling, but be so dominant. But from where I stand, there's no reason why somebody that amazing can't be even better. Let me catch up. I think we do have a couple questions or
Oh,
comments
perfect.
here. So we've got Alan saying, Alan from up north, I don't warm up. I suck at prepping. I I know what to do, but I don't do shit.
I completely understand Alwyn. And shout out to Alwyn. He may not have known this, but all the time I tell him when I'm at the practice, we're going to go into a hook. We're going to really work that hook. Won me the national championship on my right arm. So thank you for the time you spent with me and helping me train that, Alwyn.
Amazing. See, every aspect of this community is important, even if you're just having a good time. Alwyn, yeah, I have seen a lot of tournaments that you were involved in, mostly up north. I feel like I see you, but
Yes.
yeah, you do seem like a natural talent, and I really like the style you like to arm wrestle. And one of these days we'll meet up in a tournament or something like that. And I think it would be a fun match where you seem to like to go and stuff like that. We might get in a little bit of a grinder. That would be fun stuff. But wishing you well, bro. And we also have let's see, who do we have? Oh wait, he also says I just need my team to tell me so I can be in my winning mindset instead. Yeah. Yeah. Little team coaching and motivation goes a long way. We got Alden. Uh, let me get this right. Heiga Salazar. Okay, great stuff. Good to see you, Alden. We've got Nicholas Rush Butler in the house asking, how does Tino keep the groupies off of him at tournaments? How do you do that? Do you keep like a taser with you or?
I think my presence is a little too intimidating. Look around. They see me look at them. They just,
Hell yeah, man. No, you're fun at tournaments. You're everywhere. One thing I did notice about you is you definitely support your team. Noticed that a lot at the state championship. You were in there for the amateur day. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, supporting all of them. That was really cool to see. Let's see. River is asking, how do you feel about controlling adrenaline? Not
uh,
dumping all your energy or adrenaline, warming up is somewhat hard for me.
yes. So I have, or I did have the exact opposite issue. I'm a very low energy person. I don't get excited. I don't get amped. I'm just like, if anyone's seen me for every tournament, every anything prior to last nationals, just I say almost 6, 8 months ago, stepped up to the table, just flat demeanor, just everything. And I'm still pulling intensely when I get up to the table, but just getting myself up and ready, just not me. I had trouble with that. So what I did to get myself amped up for a match happened at Worlds. Very stressful. What could go wrong went wrong, non-arm wrestling related. I was day 2, right arm, disappointing day prior on the left. I just want to go home. I don't want to compete. When's my flight? I get smashed my first match. I'm like, God, okay, I'm gonna lose. It's not in it today, but how am I gonna lose? How am I gonna go out? God, I gotta psych myself up. So happy I did it at LA. So some might have seen it. Is when I step up to the table, completely calm, relax, relax, relax. Then I'll just I'll shout as loud as powerful as I can. For me, that's like a smiling spot. Wakes me up mentally, locks me completely in here. So that's how I do it. So how would suggest for the opposite? If you're just so anxious, so adrenaline pumped, you're ready to go, ready to go, ready to go. is take your time. Like the exercise I was doing earlier when I'm at the table by myself, just going through the motions. Easy, just setting my mind at ease, just as shadow wrestlers moving. I think the problem with that, adrenaline dump where it's pumped up really, that anxiety is you need enough time to relax. As Kane brought up, maybe a little bit of meditation, stepping away from the venue where all the crowds are, everybody's gathered in, everybody's seeing everybody warming up. Maybe just step away, walk away. Maybe if you have some headphones in, something that'll set your mind at ease, but not put you to sleep. Or something I carry a lot of times, or actually I carry all the time, is some earplugs. I'm sensitive to a lot of sight, sounds, and everything. So I'll just put in earplugs, completely deafen everything. Just walk off. Maybe I'll close my eyes and just breathe, relax. Deal with all those doubts, insecurities, anxieties that are going on in my head, especially at nationals. I didn't feel good going into nationals competition day. I'm a little jittery. Maybe it was the energy drink. Maybe it's just the situation I'm in. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Just having the time just to take a moment to breathe, relax, trust the work you've done leading up to this. Manage that adrenaline by controlling it. Don't psych yourself up or lock in until you're across from your opponent ready to go. Because we saw Paul Italio's super match, the whole fiasco that's a separate thing. But as he was saying, he had that adrenaline up. He was pumped, ready to go, ready to go, ready to go. But he still got like 15 minutes before he even gets there. Then it's delayed. Then he's not showing up. He's completely locked out of his match. He's done. He's exhausted.
Right.
Versus being a little bit more controlled, how I like to do it. I don't psych up till I'm at the table ready to go. When I do psych up, it's controlled. There's a breath of relaxation before, completely relaxed, then like going Super Saiyan, it's all in. We're all focused here. After that match, breathe, let it go. Win, loss, draw, let it go. Let it go, get back in. It's something that takes practice. It takes time. But if you are dealing with some, a little adrenaline rush, little issue, obviously focusing on that mental aspect, but perhaps maybe not have that energy drink before the tournament. Maybe monitor how much carbs you're having the day before or leading up to it. So you're not feeling that jelly like you got to burn. We got to work out. We got to go. Maybe think of those things when you have felt that adrenaline rush. What things that were you doing beforehand or could change to make some adjustments from a physiological standpoint and also a mental standpoint as well?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with a lot of those aspects of adrenaline and nerves. It's been something that's been, I don't know, difficult to try and navigate for myself. I also prefer it to be controlled. And you were mentioning earlier about showing up to an event early and getting familiar with all of the surroundings. I do like to do the same thing as well. Almost kind of like how a dog, you take a dog to a new environment, they pee on every, a tree that they pass. I know they're like marking their territory, but almost, I don't know, like in a weird way, I feel like it's that way. Like I'm getting there early and walking around the room, not really to like mark my territory and say this is mine or anything like that. But it feels like it's putting me in a more comfortable position.
It makes it feel like a home, your own personal
more like a home.
practice.
Yeah, and when you're
Yeah.
dealing with a lot of people in a room too, I like to navigate that as well, like getting close to it and really breaking in the room and feeling comfortable. Now, yeah, the reason for me is I want to say I'm probably a little bit more like River. You said you're the opposite. You have to physically wind yourself up. I find myself to be very tense and, have to kind of like bring myself down. And I've tried the yelling thing myself, and different people would coach me to say, get angry, Kane, and stuff like that. And it does, for me personally, it does get me maybe to a place where you tap into that extra percentage of strength, but for me it sacrifices too much focus.
Mhm.
I will oftentimes lose focus when I put myself in that place, at least to previous to a match. So I really think that knowing oneself in terms of how they respond to adrenaline and everything is important. You said you compare what you do to smelling salts, and that really works for you. I actually it took me a few years to realize it, but smelling salts, I love it because
Mhm.
it's the only way that I can get myself like, amped up enough, I guess, without losing focus. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. And some, like you're saying, some people, it's that energy is there, but just taking that breath, taking that time to
Mm,
settle down will really help you not overwhelm yourself in that moment where it's like, I'm just so locked in, so focused, but that just breath, that it's there, we're ready to go. Like
right.
the idea is the same, but your approach is different because, like you're saying, everybody's different. I'm way down here and I need to be up here. And like yourself, River, you're already here, but you need to, there's a little bit to right here to where it's more.
Yeah. Yeah. Great way of putting that. What else do we got here? Alwyn says some stuff Tino is saying in terms of mental framework is similar to when I prep for my chess tournaments. Interesting. Very interesting.
Love chess.
Yeah, big time strategy game right there. Matt Silva, the match starts before the tournament. Uh,
Absolutely.
Serious knowledge right there. Very true. And Alan talking some smack on Matt Silva. See. Matt Silva is small. He's here. Our overall average strength of the chat has decreased. No, man. I love Matt. We gotta get him on here again. We had such a brief time together on here, Matt. Yeah, we got to get you on here. Let's see. I pee on every table at the tournament, Spacey says. All right. Well, yeah, I mean this is great. I really appreciate you taking the time to break that down. Really looking forward to diving into mechanics on your table there. And also if anybody perked up when they heard after when he said after pulls, like me, look forward to North versus South 2 in Bakersfield. This won't be an event where those tables will be gone afterwards. Well, I believe the plan is we're going to have it like last year, where there's going to be some out in the courtyard area where you can have fun after pulling and everything. But Josh, yeah, we're rocking those tables at the after party too, right? Yeah, it's going to be like probably pulling all night. So my question to you, Santino, is after pulling a round robin with like 50 featherweights, are you going to be at that after pull?
Of course.
Ha!
Now, depending on how that round robin goes, there may be, I don't know, maybe a surprise afterwards. Who knows?
Yeah. And we were doing some chewing on the format of the round robin, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, because it just seems like each week there's a new person coming out of the woodwork that wants to be a part of that and help build that featherweight class. So I believe we're around 18 or 19 that could potentially be locked for this. So and it's only um we're in only May, right? No, we're in April right now, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and talking to Crispin, I think I talked about it in the last show we did, but instead of a round robin of everyone pulling everybody, which would be a lot of arm wrestling, especially if we go both hands, what would you think about a round robin in groups of five? Something like that, like a small group. You have a round robin with those five people. Winner goes on. One
Yeah,
who
I
most points, and then each winner faces the other winner in each group of people. Say there ends up being, four groups.
so there's four groups.
It should cut the matches down by
Yeah.
half,
The
if not
problem
more.
the problem I have with it is depending on that draw, the top three could be wind up in the same group and only one of them moves on, the other end up 10th or something in the ranking. So that's the biggest problem I see with it. I love the format, but for if you're trying to establish a ranking, I could see it being a big problem, and it just depends on the draw.
Yeah,
If that were the
in
case,
terms of not being happy with the group that you're in.
yeah, let's say everyone brings up mine and Danny's name and Brandon's. Let's just use those three example. Us three get put in the same group.
Oh,
Only
right.
one of us is going to move on to the next round. And there could
Exactly.
be potentially your top three. So in terms of establishing a ranking, I don't think that is the best way. I would rather see if time is an issue, I'd rather see the class shrink to. I don't know currently how many places you guys are keeping rank for. Is it the top 10 or like
Yeah, to stay in line, I believe it. Yeah, it'll have to be a top 10.
because like whatever the list you guys have for each class, I think would be the maximal limit just to establish it in terms of maintaining time. If you did go to like a bracket, like a different pools, I would have to say just to avoid the issue of potentially getting like the top two or top three in the same bracket, have like the top two finishers move on to the next round. But then again, I think it might, when it adds a good showmanship element to it, but I think it might be just as long, if not, than just doing the round robin through everyone.
Right.
But if the time is a constraint, I would rather see the class shrunk a little bit. I know that's no, we want everyone to be showcased for, especially the featherweight. But if it's up to now 20 of us, and if not all 20, we're gonna get like, unless you're running the ranking top to 20. But no, I just the only issue I think with breaking it up in different pools is just that potential of having the top of the class end up in the same pool at the start, and only one of them moves on to the higher rounds.
Yeah,
But
we would have
adjustments could be
to
made.
seed it. We'd have to seed it accordingly. But the only issue with shrinking it down is then it becomes like a participation trophy. Like if 10 guys are in there, 10 guys are guaranteed a ranking.
Yeah.
When that's not the way it works for any other class, right? So having 20 to start with and working down to the top 10 makes it much more solidified to where the people that got those rankings, it was definitely earned. I agree that it's going to be tough to go through 20 guys where they each face each other. But there's no reason we can't have like a triple elimination and work everybody down to the top, semifinals and just like a regular tournament would be, but the round robin. That way it's not an issue with time. Every single match is not a best of five or whatever. Like we would make it to where the finals would be the best of fives. Everything else would be like a best of three. But yeah, I just want to make sure, because I see it the same way, right? And I don't want the guys who, everybody that's coming has a chance, but I don't want the guys who have put in like the most work and have been waiting for this class, right? I don't want them to be excluded because of something like you just said, like putting Brandon, you, and Danny in the same class. I mean, yeah, that would totally mess everything up. And then, but that's why I think that if we worked it all down. We broke them up into pairs and groups, and they all had like their matches, and it whittled down to the finals. It would still give us a ranking because the first guy eliminated would be number 20, right? And then so on and so forth down to where the 10th guy that's eliminated is now number 10 in California, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely a way that we can do it. We just don't want, I don't think that time is too much of a constraint because we do have Bill and Chris that are coming to ref and help with all that as well. So we should be able to do whatever we want, right? And the super matches are obviously like super important. The whole North versus South, this is what this is about. But there's no reason that the round robin can't be like as big as it needs to be, right? Because this is a new exciting thing. It's something that's like badass, and it's like if we have to take 4 hours specifically for the round robin, let's do it. I'm just for hypothetical, but I don't think we should shy away from the most entertainment and excitement as possible. I just hope that you guys are okay, because at the end of this, you guys are probably going to pull 10, 15 ready goes. I know a guy like you that always pulls multiple classes. That'll be, kind of normal, but the rapid fire, the way that we're doing it,
it's going to be different for sure.
30-second intervals and things like that, all of those things come into play. So, but yeah, we, as long as you guys are okay and it works out for the way you guys compete and do your thing, then we're going to be happy. And that's like our goal. That's the goal, right? So if we can find a way, if you guys don't mind doing 10 matches, let's do it. Let's do it. So
yeah, that was the only concern with the mentioned adjustments, is making sure that guys that could have a shot at the top, but they ended just a bad draw of the bracket and ended up like towards the bottom, or guys that could be favored but get a tough draw. That way everyone feels like they had whatever the way the rankings shake up, they say, yep, that's how it is, that's how it should be, rather than, yeah, but I got put in this pool with this guy and maybe if things
right.
But I agree that potentially having everybody match up against each other might be too much. But yeah,
that's why I think triple elimination is so cool, because when you create an A bracket, a B bracket, and a C bracket, right? Obviously, the C bracket is everybody with 2 losses. The B bracket is everybody with 1 loss, and the A bracket is no losses. That easily shows us who's the winner and who's the best, right?
Mm-hmm.
It easily shows us like who earned that spot.
Oh, definitely.
So, yeah, I think we'll dial it in for sure, and we'll make sure that it works for you guys.
Okay. The only suggestion I think that would make it even cooler, just my personal geekiness, is like at the start of it, sort of like a Dragon Ball Z at like the World's Martial Arts Tournament. You have like a little thing that spins the ball, or with the names you draw in, and that's how the tournament starts. And you reveal it like, I'm pulling like so and so. This is the first matchup or something. Just that mystery of it.
I would love to do that. I mean, it's almost like it feels like that's what we have to do now, because that's a great idea.
Yeah, done.
So, yeah.
All right, I'll find our local bingo club on the mountain, see if I can buy their balls.
Right?
Yeah, this is great. I was actually just looking up right now for reference LeRae Jenkins' recent invitational, and just how that particular round robin ran in time. And I do also like the triple elimination idea, but just to give us a little reference on the round robin side, I believe it was 15 people, 15 competitors, at least looking at the thumbnail, that there participated in that. And there was a right hand and there was a left hand. It looks, I didn't even look at the left hand yet, but the right hand looks like it came in just under 2 hours to complete the right hand side. So, almost 4 to do both hands. And the only other thing to take into consideration, though, is that's what the whole event was about. So they were able to take their time and really milk that. Whereas
they would take some breaks in between.
Yes. Yeah. Rapid fire, which brings another question. what do you think about potentially starting in a set grip? Aside from just keeping that sucker moving between matches, just eliminating too much time in the setup.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine for the set grip
You know,
compared,
this
unless
is
we could even just do a referee's grip at the start too.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I
See, okay,
agree.
so that's what I was gonna say. Last year, I had brought it up to Bill. Like, do you think that we should do set grip and they'll save time? And like he broke it down like to the most minute detail, and he was like, "You're not, you won't really save time with a set grip. A referee's
No.
grip, though, is different because you can't move. It's a foul. Like you're, if we're doing a real referee's grip.
Gotcha.
But yeah, from Bill's experience, there's not much time saved with a set grip.
Yeah, because
Because
there's always a
you still
competitor
have
that'll. Mhm.
right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but
a
yeah,
lot
like
of options
Santino just said, a
there.
referee's grip, that's different.
Yep.
I mean, we could just start all the matches in the straps.
Nicholas Rush Butler asks, when is North versus South #2? That is going to be July 20th. And this event is going to be amazing. It's one of those where you can actually I feel you can take the time to travel to this event, get a B&B, come to the after party and not even pull. Even if you don't have a match at this event, like you would have a really good time being there because actually watching the process of all these super matches and the birthing of a featherweight class, there's some cool, weird expedition stuff going on. Josh and I are going to have a tag team match against Robert Terry and Paul Stevens. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. The event itself, you'll have side tables you could pull on out in the patio. There's going to be an amazing after party where there will be after pool tables and you can get to know everybody and everything. It'll be a good time. So I really do hope that a lot of people do want to come, even if they're not polling. But yeah, man, North versus South too, man. It's going to be really, really good.
Gonna be fire.
Yep. Well, Santino, okay, yeah, I could see your hand there. I
Yeah, I was
figured
just
we
making
we,
adjustments.
we shall wrap it up. We've been on for over what, over 2 hours now? Yeah. Yeah, it's been a great, great show. And I really appreciate you taking the time, to write that out and express that. Amazing backdrop and set you got
Yeah,
going on there.
try
Absolutely love
to
it.
try to make something special for you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's such a pleasure having you on. So yeah, we will talk more and get the next segment going as soon as possible. I will be having Christian Zepeda on next week just to give a little heads up for everybody. Uh Compound Arm Wrestling is going to be shutting down at its current location. So they're throwing a massive practice at that location. One last practice in Huntington Beach. It is going to be off the hook, and he wants to come on and promote that and talk about it. And we don't get to see Christian on this public platform often enough, so it'll be good to have him. He's another smart one in this sport and does a lot for the
Definitely.
sport as well. So again, thank you so much, Santino. Thank you everybody in the chat. As always, thank you, Josh. You guys have a wonderful night, and we'll see you back again.
Peace.